stared out the viewing window of the transport ship as they approached. The planet looked like a giant blue crystal floating in space. Beautiful spiraling cities stretched across its surface, all made of the same translucent material that seemed to glow from within. "First time seeing an alien world?" asked Ambassador Harrison, joining at the window. "Yes, sir," replied. "It's nothing like Earth." Harrison nodded. "They have been building those crystal cities for over 10,000 years. They think we humans are just bobbies compared to them." Had read the briefing files during the 3-month journey. The Empire was one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They were tall, elegant beings with blue, translucent skin and the ability to read thoughts. At least, their royal family could read thoughts. Regular couldn't do it. "Remember," Harrison continued, "we need this trade agreement. Earth needs their crystal technology and they need our mineral resources, but many of them don't want anything to do with us." "Why not?" "They think we're primitive. We live short lives, we fight wars, and we don't have telepathy. To them, we're like smart animals." The ship docked at a massive crystal platform orbiting the planet. As they walked through the docking tube, felt nervous. He had been a military medic before becoming a diplomat. He was used to helping people, not negotiating with aliens who thought humans were inferior. The greeting committee was waiting for them, had never seen aliens in person before. They were tall and thin, almost 7 feet high. Their skin was pale blue and seemed to glow softly. Their eyes were large and silver, and they moved with perfect grace. "Welcome to," said the lead in perfect English. "I am High Chancellor. We will escort you to the planet's surface." The Chancellor's voice was cold and formal. He looked at the humans like they were something unpleasant he had to deal with. Noticed that none of them smiled or showed any warmth. The journey to the planet took an hour in a crystal shuttle. Watched the alien landscape pass below them. Everything was clean and perfect. There were no ugly buildings, no pollution, no chaos. It was beautiful, but it felt empty somehow. They landed at the capital city's diplomatic quarter. The humans were given rooms in a guest facility made entirely of crystal. The walls were transparent but could become opaque with a touch. Found his room and unpacked his few belongings. That evening, there was a welcome ceremony. Put on his best diplomatic uniform and joined Ambassador Harrison and the rest of the human delegation. They walked through corridors filled with soft, colored light. The ceremony hall was enormous. Hundreds stood in perfect rows, all wearing flowing robes that seemed to be made of liquid light. At the front of the hall, on a raised platform, sat the royal family. Spotted Princess immediately. She was younger than the others, maybe equivalent to a human in her 20s. Unlike the other, who looked bored or disapproving, she seemed curious. Her silver eyes kept looking at the human delegation with interest. High Chancellor gave a speech about the historic meeting between species, but his tone made it clear he didn't think it was a good thing. Several other nobles spoke, all saying similar things about being cautious and protecting interests. Then Princess stood up. The hall became completely silent. "I welcome our human guests," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. "I have studied human history and culture. They may live shorter lives than us, but they use that time well. They are brave, creative, and resilient. I believe we can learn from each other." Could feel the tension in the room. Many looked uncomfortable with the princess's words. High Chancellor's face showed clear disapproval. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Stood near a wall, feeling out of place among all the elegant aliens. He was surprised when Princess approached him. "You are," she said. "It wasn't a question." "Yes, Your Highness," replied, bowing slightly. "I read your file. You were a medic before becoming a diplomat. You saved many lives during the border conflicts." Was surprised she knew about his military service. "I just did my job, Your Highness." "Interesting, would say you did your duty, but humans say you did your job. There's a difference, isn't there?" Thought about it? Maybe. A job is something you choose to do. Duty is something you have to do. Princess smiled. It was the first genuine smile had seen from any. Exactly. You chose to risk your life for strangers. Most would find that difficult to understand. Over the next few days, attended various meetings and cultural events. The negotiations were not going well. They made impossible demands and showed little interest in human proposals. High Chancellor seemed determined to make the talks fail, but kept meeting Princess at different events. She asked him questions about human culture, history, and thinking. She seemed genuinely fascinated by how humans solved problems and dealt with challenges. "Tell me about human courage," she said one day as they walked through the royal gardens. The plants were crystal structures that grew like living things. "What do you mean?" asked. "Avoid unnecessary risk. We live for thousands of years, so we're very careful, but humans take risks all the time. Why?" Thought about his time as a medic, running into dangerous situations to help wounded soldiers. Maybe because we don't have thousands of years. We have to act when we see something that needs doing. If we wait, the moment might be gone forever. Princess stopped walking and looked at him with those large silver eyes. "That's what I thought. You don't have the luxury of patience." "I guess not. Some of my people think that makes you inferior, but I think it makes you powerful in a way we're not." Didn't know what to say to that. He was just a mid-level diplomat trying not to embarrass humanity on an alien world. He didn't feel powerful at all. But as he looked at the princess, he realized that maybe that was exactly the point. Humans didn't think of themselves as special. They just did what needed to be done when it needed to be done. The Festival of Lights was approaching, and Princess had insisted that the human delegation participate. It would be the first time aliens had ever taken part in the sacred ceremony. High Chancellor had opposed it, but the princess had convinced her father, the emperor, to allow it. Had a feeling that the festival would be more important than anyone realized. Something was building in the political atmosphere of. The conservative factions were becoming more vocal in their opposition to any cooperation with humans. As he prepared for the ceremony, couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. He just didn't know how much. The Festival of Lights began at sunset. Had never seen anything like it. Thousands of gathered in the Grand Plaza, each carrying a crystal that glowed with soft inner light. As darkness fell, the entire city became a sea of gentle colors. Princess had explained the ceremony to him earlier. "We celebrate the unity of all living things," she had said. "The crystals represent the connection between all consciousness. Tonight, for the first time, human consciousness will be part of our sacred ritual." Wore a specially made crystal pendant that the princess had given him. It felt warm against his chest and pulsed with a soft blue glow. All the humans in the delegation wore similar crystals. "Stay close to me," Ambassador Harrison whispered too as they took their places near the royal platform. "Some of the nobles still aren't happy about us being here." Nodded, but his attention was focused on the ceremony beginning around them. Voices rose in harmonic songs that seemed to make the crystals glow brighter. The sound was beautiful and alien, unlike anything on Earth. Princess stood on the central platform with her family. She wore robes that seemed to be made of captured starlight, and her crystal crown threw rainbows across the plaza. When she raised her hands, the entire crowd fell silent. "Tonight we celebrate unity." Her voice carried clearly through the plaza without any amplification. "For the first time in our history, we welcome friends from another world to share in our most sacred ceremony. Let their presence remind us that consciousness takes many forms and all deserve respect." The crowd responded with a harmonic hum that made feel strange, like the sound was touching something deep in his mind. The crystal pendant grew warmer against his chest. High Chancellor stepped forward. His expression was neutral, but had learned to read body language over the past weeks. The Chancellor was not pleased. "We honor tradition," said carefully, while remaining cautious of change. "May the lights guide us to wisdom." It was a polite way of saying he disagreed with including humans in the ceremony. Noticed several groups in the crowd who seemed to agree with the Chancellor. They stood stiffly, their crystals glowing dimmer than the others. The ceremony continued with ritual dances and more singing. Found himself caught up in the beauty of it all. The moved like flowing water, their crystals creating patterns of light that told ancient stories. Princess descended from the platform and began walking through the crowd, blessing individuals by touching her crystal to theirs. When the two crystals met, they would flare with brilliant light for a moment. It was her way of connecting with her people. She was moving toward the human delegation when noticed something wrong. A group of near the edge of the plaza were not participating in the ceremony. They stood in shadows, watching the princess with intense focus. Something about their posture set off alarms in his mind. His military training kicked in. One of the shadowy figures raised something in his hands, caught the glint of metal and crystal, not the soft glow of ceremony crystals, but something harsh and focused. His medic training had taught him to recognize weapons, and this looked like some kind of energy device. The figure aimed it directly at Princess. Time seemed to slow down, saw the weapon charging up, building energy for a shot that would kill the princess. She was only 20 feet away from him, completely unaware of the danger. The crowd around her was focused on the ceremony, not watching for threats. Didn't think he reacted. He pushed through the crowd, shoving past surprised who were much taller than him. Several tried to stop him, thinking he was disrupting the ceremony, but his military training made him fast and determined. "Princess," he shouted, but the harmonic singing drowned out his voice. The weapon fired just as reached Princess. He could see the deadly energy beam streaking toward her, invisible to most eyes but visible to him because of the combat enhancement drugs he had received as a medic. The beam would hit her in the chest, stopping her heart instantly. Threw himself between the beam and the princess. The energy hit him like a lightning bolt made of fire. Every nerve in his body screamed as the weapon's power tore through him. He felt his cells burning, his organs failing, his mind going blank from the overwhelming pain. But he had done it. The princess was safe. Collapsed to the crystal ground, his body smoking from the energy blast. He could hear screaming and shouting around him, but it seemed to come from very far away. Princess dropped to her knees beside him, her hands hovering over his chest. "No, no, no," she was saying. "Why did you do this?" Tried to speak, but no sound came out. His vision was going dark at the edges. Through the growing darkness, he could see chaos erupting in the plaza. Security forces were moving toward the attackers. The crowd was scattering in panic. Princess placed her hands on his chest. He felt a strange, tingling sensation, different from the burning pain of his injuries. Her telepathic abilities were trying to reach into his mind to keep him conscious. "Stay with me," she whispered urgently. "Don't you dare die for me, human, don't you dare." But could feel his life slipping away. The weapon had been designed to kill instantly, and it was doing the same to him. His enhanced metabolism from his military service was the only thing keeping him alive for these few extra moments. Through his fading consciousness, he heard High Chancellor's voice shouting orders. "Secure the attackers. Get medical teams here immediately, both and human medics." Someone was arguing. "Why waste resources on the human? He's clearly dying." "Because," Princess's voice cut through the chaos like a blade, "he just saved my life. And if he dies, I will personally see that whoever spoke those words joins him." Felt a smile try to cross his lips. Even dying, he was impressed by the steel in the princess's voice. She really was something special. The last thing he remembered was Princess's hands on his head, her telepathic touch trying desperately to hold his consciousness together. Her mental voice followed him down into the darkness. "Live, live," and let me show my people what human courage really means." Then everything went black. Woke up 3 days later in chains. He was not in a medical facility. He was not in his guest quarters. He was standing in the center of the high court, with heavy crystal shackles around his wrists and ankles. Hundreds of nobles sat in curved rows above him, all staring down with expressions ranging from curiosity to hostility. He was alive, which was impossible. The weapon should have killed him instantly. But somehow, he was not only alive, he felt strong, better than he had in years actually. High Chancellor stood at a raised podium, holding a crystal tablet. "The human," he announced in a voice that echoed through the chamber, "stands accused of inciting violence through his presence at our sacred ceremony. How do you answer these charges?" Looked around the courtroom in confusion. He had saved Princess' life. Why was he being put on trial? Then he saw her. Princess sat with the royal family, but she looked different, older somehow, more determined. When their eyes met, she gave him the tiniest nod. Whatever was happening here, she had a plan. Straightened his shoulders and faced the court. "I answer that I did what any decent person would do. I saved a life." The murmur that ran through the court told him that his simple answer had just started something much bigger than a trial. The High Court was the most impressive building had ever seen. The chamber was carved from a single massive crystal that rose hundreds of feet into the air. Light flowed through the walls in patterns that seemed to respond to the emotions of everyone inside. Tested his chains. They were made of some kind of energy field that felt solid but gave off no heat. He could move a few steps in any direction, but he couldn't leave the circle marked on the floor beneath his feet. "You stand accused," High Chancellor continued, "of disrupting a sacred ceremony, causing violence at a peaceful gathering, and creating division among the people." "I saved Princess' life," said firmly. "How is that a crime?" A murmur ran through the assembled nobles. Some sounded approving, others hostile. High Chancellor raised his hand for silence. "The prosecution claims that your very presence at the ceremony encouraged radical elements to act violently. They argue that without humans contaminating our sacred ritual, the attack would never have happened." Felt his temper rising. "So you're blaming me for being attacked? That's insane." "Silence," snapped. "You will speak only when addressed directly." Princess rose from her seat among the royal family. "I request permission to address the court as both victim of the attack and witness to the accused's actions." Her father, Emperor, nodded gravely. "The court recognizes Princess." She stepped down to the main floor, moving with royal grace but also with determination that hadn't seen before. "Honored nobles of the High Court," she began, "I stand before you alive because of the human you have chained like a criminal." "The human's survival is itself suspicious," interrupted Noble, one of supporters. "The plasma disruptor that hit him should have killed any living being instantly. Yet he not only survived but recovered in 3 days. This suggests he may not be entirely natural." Princess' eyes flashed with anger. "Are you suggesting is some kind of artificial being? I can assure you he is completely, genuinely alive. I know because I was telepathically connected to him for those 3 days." This caused an uproar in the court. Rarely formed telepathic connections with their own species, and never with aliens. The idea that a princess had bonded mentally with a human was shocking. "You connected with the alien?" Noble asked in horror. "Princess, do you realize what you've done? Your mind could be contaminated by primitive thoughts and emotions." "My mind is perfectly fine," replied coldly. "And through that connection, I learned things about human consciousness that will change how we view this species forever." Emperor leaned forward in his throne. "Explain, daughter." Princess turned to face, her silver eyes meeting his. "When the plasma disruptor hit, it should have destroyed every cell in his body instantly. But humans are different from us in ways we never imagined. Their bodies can temporarily override normal biological limits when faced with extreme trauma. Dr. the court's chief scientist stood up. Your Highness, I examined the human's body while he was unconscious. His cellular regeneration rate was beyond anything in our medical records. Some of his tissues were rebuilding themselves faster than we could study them. How is that possible? Asked Noble suspiciously. Decided to speak up. Military enhancement drugs, he said simply. All human medics receive them. They're designed to help us survive injuries long enough to treat ourselves and others. Enhancement drugs, Doctor looked fascinated. What kind of enhancements? Increased adrenaline production, accelerated healing, improved stress response, better neural conductivity under trauma conditions, explained. The idea is that if you're the only medic available, you need to stay functional even when badly injured. The court fell silent as the implication sank in. High Chancellor looked disturbed. You're saying all human medical personnel are artificially enhanced? Not just medics, said. Most of our military personnel, emergency responders, explorers, and colonists receive some level of enhancement. It's standard procedure when humans take on dangerous jobs. Noble stood up, his blue face pale with shock. How many of your people have these enhancements? Thought about it. Maybe 20% of the adult population, anyone whose job involves significant risk to themselves or others. Princess smiled. Do you see now? Humans don't just accept that they're fragile and short-lived. They actively work to overcome their limitations. They make themselves stronger, faster, more resilient. They refuse to be limited by biology. That's terrifying, Noble muttered. No, Princess said firmly. That's inspiring. We live for thousands of years, so we've become cautious. We avoid risks because we have so much to lose. But humans know their time is limited, so they push themselves to do more, be more, help more people in the time they have. Doctor was still studying his medical scanner. Princess, the human's enhancement drugs appear to have been activated by extreme stress and maintained by telepathic contact. Without your mental connection, he likely would have died despite the drugs. Princess nodded. Which brings us to the most important point. Didn't just survive because of human technology. He survived because I refused to let him die. Our telepathic connection kept his consciousness stable while his body healed. You saved my life, said quietly. After you saved mine, she replied. That's what allies do for each other. High Chancellor looked uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. The charges still stand. The human's presence caused the attack. Actually, Princess said, pulling out a crystal data pad, investigation of the attackers reveals something very different. The radical group that attempted my assassination has been planning this for months. They oppose any contact with humans, but they also oppose my policies on social reform, trade negotiations, and technological advancement. I was their target regardless of whether humans were present. She touched the data pad, and holographic images appeared in the air above the court. They showed meetings, communications, and planning sessions by the radical group. The evidence shows they planned to kill me during the Festival of Lights specifically, because it would allow them to blame my death on contamination by alien influence and justify taking control of the government, Princess continued. His presence didn't cause the attack. It simply provided them with a convenient excuse. Noble examined the evidence. If this is true, then the attack was an internal political matter, not a result of human involvement. Exactly, Princess said. And his response to the attack reveals something crucial about human nature. He didn't hesitate. He didn't calculate the odds. He didn't worry about diplomatic consequences. He saw someone in danger and acted instantly to protect them, even though it meant certain death. Emperor spoke for the first time since the trial began. Human, why did you choose to sacrifice yourself for my daughter? Thought about the question. Your Majesty, I didn't really think about it. When I saw the weapon aimed at the princess, my training kicked in. As a medic, my job was to save lives. As a person, I couldn't just stand there and watch someone get killed if I could prevent it. Even though you barely knew her. Yes, sir. Life is valuable no matter whose life it is. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Doctor, in your medical opinion, will the human's enhancements cause any long-term problems? None that I can detect, Your Majesty. If anything, his recovery has been remarkably complete. The telepathic connection with Princess seems to have integrated well with his enhanced neural pathways. And this telepathic connection, the Emperor asked his daughter, what does it tell you about human consciousness? Princess smiled. That humans think faster and more directly than we do. They process information quickly and make decisions based on immediate moral instincts rather than long deliberation. Their minds are energetic in ways ours are not. Is this good or bad? It's different, and I believe difference is valuable. High Chancellor made one last attempt. Your Majesty, even if the human acted heroically, his survival could set a precedent. If humans believe they can take extraordinary risks and survive them, they might become reckless in future dealings with us. Spoke up again. Chancellor, I didn't expect to survive. I thought I was going to die. I did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. That's what humans do. We don't take risks because we think we'll survive them. We take risks because some things are more important than our own survival. The court was completely silent now. The weight of that statement hung in the air like a challenge to everything they believed about the value of long life and careful planning. Emperor rose from his throne. The court will recess while we deliberate on these matters. The human will remain in custody, but his chains will be removed as a gesture of respect for his heroic actions. As the nobles filed out to discuss the case, Princess approached. The energy shackles dissolved at her touch. How do you feel? She asked quietly. Confused, admitted. I saved your life and ended up on trial. I'm not sure I understand justice. You're not on trial for saving my life, Princess said. You're on trial for changing everything we thought we knew about humans. That's much more dangerous than stopping an assassin. Rubbed his wrists where the chains had been. What happens now? Princess looked toward the chamber where the nobles were deliberating. Now we find out whether my people are wise enough to recognize a gift when they see one. When the court reconvened, could feel the change in atmosphere. The light patterns flowing through the crystal walls were different, more active, more uncertain. The nobles who had seemed hostile before now looked thoughtful. Some even seemed curious. Emperor took his throne, but instead of immediately calling for the trial to continue, he gestured for to step forward. The Emperor said, My daughter tells me that during your telepathic connection, you shared memories of your military service. I would like to hear about these experiences directly from you. Was surprised by the request, but he nodded. What would you like to know, Your Majesty? Tell us about the border conflicts. Tell us why you became a medic. Took a deep breath. He rarely talked about his military service, but these people needed to understand humans better. The border conflicts were territorial disputes between human colonies. They lasted 3 years and involved fighting on 7 different worlds. You were a soldier? Noble asked. No, sir. I was a non-combat medic. My job was to treat wounded soldiers from both sides of the conflict. This caused another stir in the court. Princess had mentioned this before, but hearing it directly from made it more real. Both sides, Doctor asked. You treated enemy soldiers. Yes. The rules of war on Earth require medical personnel to help anyone who needs it, regardless of which side they're fighting for. High Chancellor looked skeptical, even if they had been trying to kill your friends moments before. Nodded. That's exactly when they need help most. A wounded enemy soldier is just a person in pain. My job was to stop the pain and save the life. But surely you must have felt anger toward them, Noble asked. Sometimes, admitted. But anger doesn't help anyone heal. And I learned that most of the time, soldiers on both sides were just regular people caught up in something bigger than themselves. Princess stepped forward. Tell them about the incident at New Damascus. Hesitated. He didn't like talking about New Damascus. I'm not sure that's relevant to this trial, Your Highness. It's completely relevant, she said gently. Please. Looked around the court. All the nobles were watching him with intense attention. New Damascus was a colony world where both sides were fighting over mining rights. A bomb went off in the civilian district during a ceasefire. Over 300 people were hurt, colonists, soldiers from both armies, even children. What did you do? Emperor asked quietly. I worked for 36 hours straight treating casualties. So did every other medic and doctor in the area. We didn't ask which side anyone was on. We just treated whoever needed help most urgently. Doctor was studying his scanner again. Your enhancement drugs would have been active during this period. Yes, the stress levels and lack of sleep should have made it impossible to function effectively. But the drugs kept me alert and steady. I was able to perform surgery with hands that should have been shaking from exhaustion. How many people did you save? Princess asked. I don't keep count, said uncomfortably. I do, she said. According to the military records I accessed through our mental link, personally treated 47 casualties during those 36 hours. 39 of them survived injuries that would have been fatal without immediate expert care. The court was silent. Finally, Noble spoke. You saved 39 people in a day and a half. The drugs help with efficiency, said, and I had good training. The drugs don't create skill or compassion, Princess pointed out. They only enhance what's already there. High Chancellor shifted in his seat. This is all very impressive, but what does it have to do with the charges against him? Everything, Princess said firmly. The prosecution claims that presence at our ceremony was disruptive and dangerous, but his actions during the attack were completely consistent with his character and training. He saw someone in danger and reacted to save them. This is what humans do. Not all humans are enhanced medics, Noble pointed out. No, agreed. But all humans are taught from childhood that you help people in danger if you can. It's not just military training. It's basic human morality. Doctor looked up from his scanner. I've been monitoring the human stress responses during this trial. His enhancement drugs have remained completely inactive. He's managing this situation with purely natural human capabilities. What does that tell you? Princess asked. That his actions during the attack weren't driven by artificial enhancement, Doctor said slowly. The drugs only activated because he was dying, not because he made the decision to act. His choice to save you was purely natural human behavior. Emperor leaned forward. Human, let me ask you a hypothetical question. If you saw one of our people, perhaps even High Chancellor, who has opposed your presence here in mortal danger, what would you do? Didn't hesitate. I'd try to save him, Your Majesty. Even though he considers you primitive and dangerous. Yes. Why? Thought about how to explain it. Because what he thinks of me doesn't change the fact that his life has value. I might not like someone, but that doesn't mean I want them to die. High Chancellor stood up abruptly. This is exactly the problem, he declared. The human speaks of life having universal value, of helping enemies, of making decisions based on immediate emotional responses rather than careful consideration. These ideas could undermine our entire social structure. How? Princess asked calmly. Our society is based on hierarchy, tradition, and careful deliberation. We consider consequences before acting. We respect established authority. If young start believing they should act on immediate moral impulses like humans do, chaos will result. Or, Princess said, They might start actually helping each other instead of just following rules. This statement caused an uproar in the court. Several nobles began arguing at once. Emperor raised his hand for silence. "Daughter, that's a serious accusation against our society." Princess stood her ground. "Father, when was the last time a risked their own life to save a stranger? When was the last time we chose compassion over protocol?" The court fell silent. The question hung in the air like a challenge. "The human did both in a single moment," Princess continued. "He saw a stranger in danger and acted without considering rank, species, or consequences. That's not primitive behavior. That's moral courage of the highest order." Noble made one more attempt to support the prosecution. "But the telepathic connection you formed with the human could be dangerous. What if human thought patterns contaminate consciousness?" Princess smiled. "They already have, and I'm grateful for it." "Explain," Emperor commanded. "Through our mental link, I experienced human emotions directly. Their anger at injustice, their determination to help others, their willingness to sacrifice for strangers. These aren't contaminations, Father. They're gifts." "And what have you given the human in return?" Doctor asked curiously. "Spoke up, peace," he said simply. "Minds are calmer than human minds, more focused. The connection taught me to think more clearly under pressure." "So the exchange benefited both species?" Emperor asked. "Yes, both," and Princess said simultaneously. The Emperor was quiet for several minutes, considering everything he had heard. Finally, he spoke. "High Chancellor, what sentence does the prosecution recommend?" Looked uncomfortable. "Your Majesty, given the evidence presented, the prosecution withdraws all charges." There was a moment of shocked silence, then several nobles began talking at once. The Emperor raised his hand again. "The court accepts the prosecution's withdrawal of charges. You are free to go." But he wasn't finished. "However, your actions have raised questions that go far beyond this trial. Princess, I understand you have a proposal." Princess stepped forward with a formal crystal scroll. "I propose the creation of the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Program. Humans and would work together, learn from each other, and develop new ways to solve problems facing both our civilizations." "And you believe this should be part of this program?" the Emperor asked. "I believe he should lead the human portion of it," Princess said. "His telepathic connection to our people makes him uniquely qualified to bridge the gap between our species." Was stunned. "Your Highness, I'm just a mid-level diplomat. I'm not qualified to lead anything that important." "You saved my life without thinking about your career prospects," Princess said. "That qualifies you for anything." High Chancellor stood up. "Your Majesty, I must object to this proposal. Formal cooperation with humans could change our society in unpredictable ways." "Yes," Emperor said thoughtfully, "it could." He looked at for a long moment. "Human, if we approve this program, what would you hope to accomplish?" Thought carefully before answering. "Your Majesty, I'd hope to help both species become better than either could be alone. Humans could learn wisdom and patience from, could learn courage and adaptability from humans. And if our societies resist these changes, then we start small and prove the benefits through results, not arguments." Emperor smiled for the first time since had met him. "That sounds like something both species could learn from." He stood up. "The court approves Princess's proposal. You are hereby appointed as the first human cultural liaison to the Empire." As the court erupted in discussion, realized his life had just changed completely. He was no longer just a diplomat who had saved someone's life. He was now responsible for building a bridge between two completely different civilizations. Princess approached him as the nobles filed out of the chamber. "Congratulations," she said. "I have no idea what I'm doing," admitted. "Perfect," she said with a smile. "Neither do I. We'll figure it out together." 6 months after the trial, stood in his new office overlooking the capital city of The room was a blend of human and design, crystal walls that could display information like computer screens, but also a wooden desk from Earth and chairs designed for human comfort. The interspecies cultural exchange program had grown faster than anyone expected. What started as a formal agreement between governments had become something much more personal and meaningful. Princess entered the office carrying a stack of data crystals. "The latest reports from the exchange teams," she said, setting them on his desk. Picked up one of the crystals and inserted it into his reader. "How are the human medics working out in the hospitals?" "Better than anyone hoped," said, settling into the chair across from his desk. "Dr. Sarah has revolutionized emergency trauma care at the Central Medical Facility. She's been teaching doctors how to work under pressure using human stress response techniques. And the counselors working with human colonies. Extraordinary results. Their telepathic abilities are helping humans deal with psychological trauma in ways we never thought possible. The mining colony on Titan reported a 70% reduction in mental health issues after Counselor Varix arrived." Smiled, "It's working. Better than working. It's proving that our species need each other." There was a chime from his communication device. "This is Ambassador Harrison calling from Earth. We need to discuss the expanded trade proposals." Activated the holographic display. Harrison's image appeared in the air above his desk, but he wasn't alone. Several other human officials were with him, as well as representatives from 3 other alien species. Harrison said, "We've got some interesting developments. Word about your program with the has spread to other civilizations. The Republic wants to set up something similar with human colonies." The Republic was surprised. They've never shown interest in humans before. "They are now," said one of the other officials. "Apparently, they have been sharing their research about human adaptability and moral courage. Other species are starting to see humans differently." Princess leaned forward. "What kind of interest?" "Medical cooperation, primarily," Harrison explained. "Human enhancement technologies combined with genetic knowledge could revolutionize healthcare across the galaxy." Felt a familiar weight of responsibility. "Sir, I'm honored by the confidence, but I'm still learning how to manage one interspecies program." "Which is exactly why you're the right person for this," Harrison replied. "You're not trying to impose human values on everyone else. You're finding ways for different species to complement each other." After the call ended and Princess sat in thoughtful silence, finally she spoke. "Are you ready for this to get much bigger?" "I don't think anyone could be ready for something like this," said. "But that didn't stop me from jumping in front of that plasma blast." Princess laughed. "True, though I hope future diplomatic challenges won't require you to nearly die." "Let's hope not." There was a knock on the office door. "Come in," called. Doctor entered, carrying a medical scanner and looking excited. "Princess, I have the results of the latest tests on the telepathic connection." "What did you find?" Princess asked. "The neural pathways established during recovery have not faded as we expected. If anything, they've grown stronger. The connection between you two is now permanent." Wasn't sure if that was good news or bad news. "What does that mean practically?" "It means you'll always be able to sense each other's emotional state and general thoughts," Doctor explained. "More importantly, it means other humans who receive similar telepathic contact during trauma could develop permanent connections with." "Is that dangerous?" asked. "On the contrary," Doctor said. "It could be the foundation for true interspecies understanding. Imagine if every diplomatic team included bonded pairs who could share thoughts and feelings directly." Princess looked at, "What do you think?" Through their connection, could feel her excitement and hope. "I think it's terrifying and wonderful at the same time." "Excellent," Doctor said. "That's exactly how revolutionary breakthroughs should feel." That evening, and Princess attended the graduation ceremony for the first class of interspecies teams. Human medics who had learned mental techniques stood beside healers who had learned human emergency procedures. Engineers from both species had developed new technologies that neither could have created alone. "Look at them," Princess said as they watched the mixed groups celebrating together. "6 months ago, most of my people thought humans were barely civilized. Now they're working as equals. Some are even becoming friends," noted, watching a group of humans and laughing together at some shared joke. "More than friends in some cases," Princess said with amusement. "Doctor and counselor are definitely developing feelings for each other." "Is that going to cause problems?" "Probably, but good problems, I think." High Chancellor approached them. Over the past months, his attitude toward and the exchange program had shifted from hostility to grudging respect to something approaching admiration. Said, "I owe you an apology." "Chancellor, I believe that human influence would damage society. Instead, it's helped us become better than we were. Our people are taking more initiative, showing more compassion, and solving problems faster than ever before." "Thank you, sir. That means a lot coming from you." Nodded. "I've been asked to inform you that the Emperor has decided to formalize your position. You're being appointed as the first interspecies cultural ambassador. The position comes with full diplomatic status and authority to negotiate agreements with any civilization that requests human cooperation." Felt overwhelmed. "Chancellor, I'm not sure I'm qualified for something that important." Princess said gently, "You've already proven your qualifications. You saved my life, survived impossible injuries, bonded telepathically with an alien species, and built the most successful interspecies cooperation program in galactic history. I think you can handle the job title." 2 weeks later, found himself standing in the same plaza where the Festival of Lights attack had occurred. But this time, he wasn't attending a ceremony. He was helping to conduct one. The second Festival of Lights was different from the first. Representatives from 12 different species had come to participate, including humans and several others. The plaza was filled with a rainbow of different beings, all carrying crystals that glowed in harmony. "Are you nervous?" Princess asked as they took their places on the platform. "Terrified," admitted. "What if I mess this up?" "Then we'll figure out how to fix it," she said calmly. "That's what partners do." Emperor stepped forward to address the crowd. "1 year ago, an act of violence nearly destroyed what we're celebrating tonight. But that same act of violence revealed something beautiful, that courage and compassion can bridge any gap between species." The crowd hummed in harmony, crystals glowing brighter. The Emperor continued, "Step between hatred and its target. In doing so, he showed us that the value of life transcends species, politics, and personal safety. Tonight, we celebrate not just the unity of all consciousness, but the courage to protect that unity." Felt the familiar weight of responsibility, but also something new, confidence. He had learned over the past year that being qualified for a job wasn't about having all the answers. It was about being willing to do the right thing, even when you didn't know what would happen next. "Citizens of all worlds," said, his voice carrying clearly through the plaza, "we gather tonight not as separate species, but as partners in building a better galaxy. Each of us brings different strengths, different perspectives, different ways of solving problems. Together, we can accomplish things that none of us could achieve alone." The harmonic humming grew stronger, and the crystals flared with brilliant light. "A year ago, I made a split-second decision that changed my life and brought our species together. Tonight, I hope we can all make a longer-term decision to continue working together, learning from each other and protecting each other." The crowd erupted in cheers, whistles, and various alien sounds of approval. Felt Princess's hand slip into his, and through their mental connection, he sensed her pride and joy. "Good speech," she said quietly. Thanks, think it will work. Look around, she said. Looked out at the plaza. Humans were teaching children how to make sound effects with their hands. Healers were comparing notes with human medics. Engineers from 6 different species were drawing plans in the air with holographic tools. It's already working, he realized. 6 months later, received a message that made him laugh out loud. Dr. Sarah and Counselor had gotten married in a ceremony that combined human and traditions. They were expecting their first child, the first human hybrid in galactic history. The message ended with a simple note. Thank you for showing us that courage changes everything. Looked out his office window at the city below. Construction crews made up of multiple species were building new facilities for the expanded exchange program. In the distance, he could see ships from dozens of worlds docked at the spaceport. Princess entered the office. The consortium of free worlds just approved our proposal for the Galactic Cooperation Initiative, she announced. All 47 member species. All of them. They want human cultural liaisons assigned to every major diplomatic mission. Shook his head in amazement. A year and a half ago, I was just a mid-level diplomat trying not to embarrass humanity. And now you're the architect of a new form of galactic civilization, Princess said. How does it feel? Thought about it. Like I'm still that same guy, just with a lot more responsibility. Good, she said, settling into her chair. That means success hasn't changed you. Speaking of change, said, I got another message from Earth. They want to know if I'd be interested in running for the Galactic Senate. Are you? Only if you'll be my running mate. Princess smiled. I thought you'd never ask. Outside their window, the sun was setting over, painting the crystal city in shades of gold and red. Tomorrow, representatives from the Trade Federation would arrive to discuss joining the cooperation program. Next week, would travel to Earth to brief the United Nations on galactic affairs. But tonight, he was content to sit with his partner and friend, planning how to make the galaxy a little bit better, one species at a time. It had all started with a split-second decision to step in front of a weapon. Now it had become something neither species could have imagined alone, a future where courage and compassion mattered more than power and tradition. Had saved one life and changed the entire galaxy. But as he often told people who called him a hero, he had just done what anyone should do when they see someone in danger. The fact that anyone turned out to include beings from across the stars was just a bonus.